My name is Angelo.
Chef Angelo here.
My name is Greno Rasper.
My name is Sanette.
One thing about baking is that you have to be so patient.
You want the sugar to dissolve before you get to the boiling point.
It's your playground, it's your craft.
Don't worry about experimenting. If you don't start somewhere, you'll never learn.
And that's where the star of the show comes in, which is our Nammilk.
Hi everyone, Chef Angelo here from Cafe Maca. Today I will be producing some chocolate chip cookies in partnership with Nammilk. So what I'm going to do right now is walk you through all the ingredients we have today and then kind of just step by step how to produce our famous chocolate chip cookies. So first what we do is brown sugar, white sugar. We separate that from the other dry ingredients, which is our flour, baking soda. The reason being is because we need to cream the sugar with the egg and then start incorporating the wet ingredients after everything is kind of homogeneous, you know? Homogeneous is just uniform. So before that happens, I'm gonna get started by just ensuring all the dry ingredients are good together. Like I said, baking soda with the flour. There's a secret additive we use as well, but I don't like saying it on camera because, like I said, it's a secret. So we're just gonna whisk in until everything looks smooth. After that, like I said, with the sugar, we're gonna cream it first with our butter, and then we're gonna add the egg. Okay. So this process is a bit tedious because you wanna break down the butter, cold butter. It helps hold the shape, but also cream it better, you know? If it's melted, it becomes too liquid and it can change the consistency of the cookie. So right now, I'm trying to smash the butter into the sugar because the fat coats onto the sugar and it binds on a lot better. And when we bind the fat with the sugar, it helps for better caramelization. It's almost like a sablage technique. Sablage is what it means directly is to sand. The idea of sanding, it's like I said, it creates this paste that allows the butter and the sugar to combine a lot more effectively. Now, add in 1 egg. Same technique, we're just folding it in. So this is where we can use the whisk now, just to smooth it out. Now, this guy, vanilla extract, just gives it a lightness, but also a distinct flavor that most people recognize no matter where. All you need is just a knife tip, nothing too much. Because 1, it gives it little black specks, but 2, like I said, it's a distinguishable flavor. So this is our wet ingredients. So now, we add the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients bit by bit. Reason being is that you want it to be smooth and you don't want it to clump up too fast. Because the whisk adds a lot of air to the batter. So you can add the rest of the flour or the dry ingredients. And again, we just fold. So you're gonna want your cookie batter to be very sticky. That's how you know it's gonna be quite a moist cookie. If you have something too dry, you'll taste that in the final product. Now, what makes it a chocolate chip cookie, of course, chocolate chips. So I don't like using the actual chocolate chips. What I like to go for is a bar slab and just cut random sizes because at the end of the day, it shouldn't necessarily all be the same or uniform. You want something that's, well, you can't say personal, but unique in its own assembly. Scoop up a little bit in the bowl. Again, we're gonna go back to the folding that I showed you earlier. And you just want all the chocolate bits to be spread out evenly so that each bowl that we portion has a good amount. You don't want to use all the chocolate because what we like to do is save a little bit for that when we start to bake it, we can just add a few more bits and pieces to make it a, a serious chocolate chip cookie. This is our dough. What we do now is we'll plastic wrap it, cover it, let it rest for 2 hours. And what that does is allow all the proteins to kind of calm down from the work we've done to it. So the gluten in the flour and also the fat in the butter has time to settle and just calm down. Cover in plastic wrap, and then we'll let that refrigerate, like I said, let all the flavors cool down, come together, and then we'll bake it right away. While that rests, what we'll go on to do is the chocolate ganache that we're going to spread on top of the cookies after they're done baking. So what I have here is chocolate. What we want to do is to make it a bit more creamier. We have a 2-to-1 ratio. So in terms of what that means is you have, for every millimeter of milk, you've got 2 grams of chocolate. So the ratio of liquid to solids, especially in terms of room temperature, affects its consistency, wherever it's consumed. If it's an outside product, the room temperature is usually between, 26 up to 35 degrees. In Namibia, probably much hotter, So you do want things that are more stable in certain environments. But we're using milk today, so it might be a bit more runnier, so we might not go exactly 2-to-1, but in this kind of scenario, just to give it a good spread, we'll get it close. So before we do that, we're gonna weigh out our chocolate. It's 80 grams. And then what that translates to is 40 millimeters of milk. So today we're using fresh milk, full cream, brought to you by Nammilk himself. And before we get started, we're gonna boil the milk, because what that does is allows for the chocolate not to burn when we're cooking it. Because what you don't want to do is cook chocolate, otherwise you start to destabilize the proteins, the sugars, pretty much its whole composition. So now our milk is boiling. And what we'll do is we'll throw it here, but we don't want to, like I said, put that back on the heat. We'll just use the residual heat. We'll just use the residual heat of the pan and the milk to melt everything. Until it gets into a smooth, consistent ganache. So we're not using a whisk here because, like I said, a whisk adds air to the mixture, and the more air you have, the more air bubbles. You dilute it essentially. So we don't see any more clumps, any lumps, and the mixture is just glossy. So we want a smooth test. If it's run smooth, that's how you know that the ratio is even. Once this is done, put it in the fridge, come back to it, so it's more a spreadable consistency. And then we wait. Dough has been resting 2 hours. It comes out the fridge. So what we're gonna do now to ensure consistency across the board is that we portion them out into exact weights. Some people like using ice cream scoop. It's a lot harder once the dough is set and chilled. So I prefer to just get them in consistent bowls. Like this, you can always adjust. Ice cream scoop, one scoop you might go too hard, another scoop you might be too soft. So like this, everybody gets 65 grams. What we like to do is kind of just press a little bit so we can make big enough surface area to place in those chocolate chunks that we sliced up. So we'll just put them randomly, no specific area. Some bakers, they spray their trays, baking paper, what that may be, but I prefer to use silicone mats because 1, you transfer the heat more consistently, and 2, it's a lot easier to come off, And the most important thing I like to do with baking is using perforated trays like that. You have consistent heat movement throughout, and on top of that, the mats are also perforated a little bit, so it allows, like I said, even circulation of heat, so no side is overbaked or underbaked. And once we're ready like this, we take it to the oven. So after that, 170, 180 depending on your oven, but I like to underbake rather than overbake because you can always add more heat or you can always put it in for longer. You can't fix something that's overdone, you know? So you can see this is what we want to look for. Golden brown, chocolate's a bit melted, sugar's caramelized. Everything you need is inside each bite. It's hot, so watch out, try not to burn your hands. Please use an oven mitt. My hands are used to being burnt, so for me a towel is all I need. Cookies have been baked 10 to 15 minutes, like I said, depends on your heat. It's always better to go undergo so you can find out later if you need to add more time. Otherwise, let the oven do the job. Your proof is in the batter, you know? Once that's set, we let it cool for a little bit before we add our chocolate ganache. So the cookie's been resting 5 minutes in the fridge. Preferably you want it to be in a cold environment so everything sets, and then once the ganache hits it, it also firms up a lot faster. So this pattern doesn't really matter. The idea is that, you know, it's not overwhelming, but you still get that milky goodness from the ganache. So we're just gonna go random patterns. It's your playground, it's your craft, it's your experiment. However you wanna go, it's up to you. I always prefer to go for a clean look, something in the middle like this. It just gives a more refined finish, whereas something like that looks like a kid was having fun, but at the end of the day, we're all kids at heart. So have fun, eat up. That's it. My Nammilk chocolate chip cookie recipe. Before we go, you know what we have to do. I'm Chef Angelo from Maka, and I really hope you guys enjoy this recipe at home. Any struggles, any issues, don't be shy to DM us. Otherwise, vote for me.
Nammilk, pure goodness.